Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Craft Beer Professionals Tuesday call. My name is John Klick. I'm a professional implementer for EOS worldwide. EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And today I am excited to teach you or let you know what EOS is and how it's helped dozens and dozens of breweries nationwide, or hundreds even for that matter, with running their brewery versus them getting run by their brewery. So the name of this presentation is Get a Grip on Your Brewery, so that we can show you how you can once again love your job. So here is how this is going to work. As you can see, my name is John Klick. I am also a brewery owner, and I'm going to share with you why EOS helped my brewery and how I think it can help you folks. It's all about helping you first. If you'd like to learn more about this after this podcast or this stream, please feel free to give me a buzz at the numbers here, and I'll pop those back up at the end of this presentation as well. So EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. You can see the new logo there in the right top part of your screen. TractionCraft is my own personal practice, and I call it TractionCraft because of the craft industries. I found some great niches there and people that I love to help, and that's my audience. So that's hence the name of TractionCraft, but I am an EOS professional implementer. This is going to be our agenda today. I'm going to really quickly tell you about us, EOS, and a little bit about me so you know what it is and why I'm not practicing on you folks, but I can tell you why I'm a EOS professional and how it applies to the breweries. Then I'll just show you quickly the model that we have, that EOS has created that we follow. And then some of the tools I'm going to show you. And one of the tools is primarily going to be most of our conversation today, and it's called the Vision Traction Organizer. And if you like this tool and you want it, you don't have to be a subscriber to EOS to use this tool. Just give me an email and I'll be happy to send out a template too. And then I'll just show you how the EOS process works if you were to use an implementer like myself. So, all right. So what is EOS? EOS is a complete proven system that uses simple, practical tools to help entrepreneurs get what they want from their business. And EOS is also known as Traction. And I'm not sure if the image is very clear there of the book Traction, but if you've seen the book Traction or know anything about it, that's what EOS is. EOS helps you get traction in your business. So everything I'm about to tell you today was created by a gentleman by the name of Gino Wickman, who was a lifelong entrepreneur and was able to take his family business that he joined when he was younger and found that it was in the need of a turnaround. And he quickly turned that business around with the leadership team and stayed on for about 7 years and then exited that business to retire. During that time, after his retirement, he was also forming the Detroit chapter of EO. If you know what EO is, it's the Entrepreneurial Peer Group. And he helped found that chapter, and through that found that he really had a knack in people with their businesses. So at that time, he just basically cobbled together all sorts of proven, timeless tools. And what I mean by that is if you've read any of the books like Good to Great or 5 Dysfunctions of a Team or 7 Habits, these types of books from Covey or Collins, these are just some of the authors that Gino Wickman just went out and cobbled together some of those proven, timeless concepts that those authors had created and then put them together to create EOS. So there's no magic pills here. There's no smoke and mirrors. And there's probably nothing you haven't heard here before. EOS is just a great way to pull it all together so that you can live a better life and have a better business. So once EOS started about 15-ish years ago. And since then, there's now 400 EOS sites. That's an EOS implementer. That's what I do. You can buy the book Traction and read it and plug EOS into your business. But one of the tools we provide are implementers, professional implementers like myself, to help you implement it purely faster and better, much like a coach at a gym. So we do daily sessions. So we've had 70-ish. That seems a little light. I bet we're closer to 80,000 sessions worldwide. And then we work with about 8,000 companies. And that's a little light too. I think we're closer to probably 10,000 companies that are actually working with implementers like myself with EOS, but about 80,000 people. And I'm going to share a link with you at the end here of all the tools, a bunch of tools, free tools that you can download and implement into your business on your own. And there's about 80,000-ish companies working with that. What we do with EOS is we help you achieve 3 things. We help you achieve vision, traction, and healthy. That means that vision from the standpoint, we get your entire leadership team working together, knowing where they're going and how they're going to get there, rowing the boat in the same way. Traction from the standpoint, we're going to get those same leaders more accountable and disciplined, working day in and day out towards that vision. And then healthy from the standpoint, we're just going to make sure those leaders play well together, get them to be a functioning fun, cohesive team, because we have found, EOS has discovered that leaders typically, or a lot of times, don't work well together in a team environment. So we're going to bring them all together and get them to be very healthy and working well and loving their jobs. And then we migrate those same disciplines down into your business to where we get everybody in the business know where they're going, how they're going to get there, working smarter and harder, gaining more traction in your business. And then, of course, the goal is to have them love getting up in the morning and going to their job. So getting that team to be extremely healthy. So you guys can make great beer. This is who I typically work with. EOS works with all sorts of different businesses, including breweries. So we work with entrepreneurial organizations that have about 10 to 250 employees within them. I have a couple smaller clients. I have some startup clients, and it works really well for those as well. But regardless, the owners and the leaders are growth oriented, and they have to be open-minded, because this is a new way to run your business. This isn't a seminar. This isn't something to dabble in. EOS is a way that you will run your business. And typically those leaders and those business owners are more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. And a lot of times, and you don't have to be frustrated, you just have to be but a lot of times we do get those frustrated entrepreneurs that started the business, and as things went great and they grew and things became more complex, they found that they were running out of time because they weren't delegating, or people weren't doing the things they wanted to. The profit was tight, and they were working in the business and not on the business. And EOS is really a great way for entrepreneurs to get control of their life back and their business. So this is me and my family. I'm the guy in the middle with the black shirt on. I'm John Klick, my wife Cynthia to my left, and my son Jackson, who's 17, a senior at Minnetonka High School, soccer player. My daughter there on the right, she's going to be a sophomore at Minnetonka High School here in Minnesota, and she plays softball and hockey. So that's my family. I went to a small liberal arts school here in Minnesota called St. John's University. And a couple of years after I graduated, I had my first opportunity to run a business. It wasn't mine, but I got the opportunity to run the business. It was called Urban Communications, a great business that did sound and lighting and audio visual for both concerts and companies. We had clients like Prince, maybe you've heard of him, and all sorts of other folks. And we did tour nationally with a couple artists. So that was a great business. That was a business that I was helped turn around. It was in dire straits when I took it over. I didn't know that. They didn't tell me that when they hired me, but I was able to turn that around and help the owners exit that business successfully in about 3 short years. So after that, I started IMC, which is a marketing company, a promotional products business. They make tap handles, they make bar mats, all the things that you guys probably buy. I started a business back in 1999 that focused on the beverage industry, and that's how I learned of the craft beer industry. Just by going to the CBC, the Craft Brewers Conference, as an exhibitor is where, I was a craft beer enthusiast, but I wasn't a craft beer, a brewer by any means. But that's where I learned about the business, and I fell in love with the brewers and the people that own their breweries in that at the CBC. Because if you've ever been, you know those side parties and whatnot where you're drinking beers with other folks. This is the greatest community. The brewers are the greatest community because we're cooperative. We have cooperation. I loved it so much. I went home, I put some pencils to paper, and I started a craft brewery called Excelsior Brewing Company back in 2012. This last weekend, we just celebrated our 9th birthday over the 4th of July weekend. So we're very proud about that. We survived COVID and things look great. I have recently, about 2 years ago, I stepped down from the day-to-day operations so that I could do what I'm doing now and helping other brewery owners and other entrepreneurs with their businesses by implementing EOS. So that's what I've been doing. Why did I go to EOS? And I forgot to mention this, but at IMC and at Excelsior Brewing Company, we ran our business on EOS. At IMC, I hired an implementer like me to come in and coach me to make sure that we did it right. And it changed our business and we grew, and I was able to exit to start a brewery. So that's a little bit about me. A little bit on EBC, Excelsior Brewing, just to so you know what kind of brewery I had or I have currently, and how I think I can apply cross-pollinate my EOS practice with the brewing industry. I opened up EO back in 2008 is when I attended CBC, and I learned about the trade, the business part of it, not just the beer. And that's when I put pen to paper, and I opened a brewery in 2012 with 2 good friends of mine. They were the check writers. I ran the business. Currently, we do about 5,000 barrels. That's going to be light from last year with 2020, of course, but that's what we're on track for getting back to this year. So we're just a small brewery, not huge. Have a small 20-barrel JV&W system. Wish I had a 30, but it doesn't fit in the room. The ceilings are too low, so we had to go with 20s. Started out with 2 20 barrels and 2 40-barrel fermenters and a bright to match. Now we're up to 10, 40 barrels. Got ourselves a centrifuge, got ourselves a great Czech Moravec bottler. We got into bottles before cans were widely, well, easily to do. There weren't any labels back in 2012 for cans. You had to buy a truckload of cans. So we got into bottles, which is great for us still, but obviously the can movements come on strong. So we still do some bottling. And I got a Micromac keg filler washer, got a centrifuge, and we do growlers and crawlers just like you folks. And we were the 4th tap room in the state of Minnesota open up, and we've won some serious awards that we're really happy of. So now, how does that cross over to EOS? Well, when I decided to step down and wanted to do this, I thought become a EOS implementer. I called all my local breweries in Minnesota to tell them the great news, and lo and behold, I found out about a stat was about 40 to 50% of all beer in Minnesota is brewed by breweries that already operate on EOS. So that just proves to me this is a great system for any company, but especially breweries, because our business is complex. It gets hard. It's fun when we start it, but things go crazy. Chillers break. People don't show. We know how it goes. So that's where we're coming from. So that's a little bit about me and the history of where I come from. Now I just want to really quickly start with you on what EOS is, and then I'm going to share a tool with you that you can take home, whether or not you like EOS or not. It's a great tool for any business. So EOS, what we like to do is we start with your business in the middle of this model, and I'm going to take you on a journey that's going to take us down a road that's going to form this model. And we found that our journey is going to embark you on the journey we're about to embark on is to get you 6 key components of your business. And we found that every entrepreneur deals with about 136 different issues at any given time. So that's a lot of stuff to juggle. But what EOS has discovered that to the extent that you can get strong in these 6 components I'm about to show you, well, those symptoms just kind of fall into place because they're just, or I'm sorry, those issues just typically fall into place because they're truly just symptoms of the root cause that are found in these 6 key components. So as you get strong in these 6 key components, you'll find that your issues will just fall out and fall into place, and we should be able to solve them and knock them down and make them go away forever. So what's the model look like? We start with the vision component of your business. This is the first component. Vision, just getting everybody in your business rolling the boat the same way, knowing where they're going and how they're going to get there. Real simple. The second key component we want to get you strong in is in your people component. You can't achieve a great vision if you don't have great people. So later in the organization, in this presentation, I'm going to show you how we're going to use some of our tools in our vision component to make sure that we have a great people in our organization. And what we have found is that everybody defines great differently. So we're just going to use a tool that everybody can get on the same page on what great means. I mean, superstars, get rid of all those titles, the top performers, things like that. We're going to discover what great looks like in your unique organization. The data component's the third component we get you strong in. And that's just running your business on facts and figures and really helping you get your emotions and your egos out of the way of decision making, which does drive a lot of the decision making for entrepreneurs. And sometimes it's not the greatest when you work off emotions. So we'll help you with some tools and disciplines there. And once we get you strong in these 3 components, what happens is that all the impurities and imperfections from your business are going to fall out and become painfully obvious. So that's the next component we got to get really good at. We got to get good at solving those issues that you've discovered, knocking them down and getting them out of your way forever. And we've got some great tools and disciplines that I'll show you on that in just a bit. The 5th key component is process component. That is just documenting in a very high level way that I'll teach you in just a second of all your core processes in your business and getting everything to work, everybody doing the same processes the right way, the same way every time, helping you become more profitable, helps you become scalable and more consistent with your business. So we'll show you a couple disciplines there. And then the 6th key component is traction. And what the traction component is just taking that vision on the top and just bringing it down to the ground and executing on it. So working day in and day on your vision. And Gino Wickman came up with a great quote that I love. And he says, vision without traction is just hallucination. Think about that. It's true. It's easy to have great ideas, but if you're not able to execute on them, they'll never become true. They'll never become reality. So that's the EOS model. That's what it looks like. Our goal is to get you all strong in each one of these components. Now, we use a scientific but subjective scale on a scale of 0 to 100 in EOS. And what we found is that 100% is like a unicorn. It's utopia. It doesn't happen. So on our journey to get strong in these key components, is our goal is to get you 80% strong. So once you get 80% strong in all these key components, it's amazing. The sky opens up, the angels sing, business becomes easy, and it's operating. But what happens is we found even successful businesses out there are running at 20% strong in some or all of these key components, and they're just successful in spite of themselves. So we're on a journey to get you to be 80% or stronger in these 6 key components. And I'll show you how that works. The vision component. Now, this is where I'm going to spend most of my time, and I'm going to go through a tool, and we're going to answer 8 questions. If you like this tool, email me. I'll put my email in the chat afterwards. Shoot me a note, and I'll send you a template for this. This is also found in the Traction book by Gino Wickman as well. So the first key component, like I said, vision, and we're going to answer 8 simple questions. And we have a form that we call our Vision Traction Organizer, and it's a VTO for short. So it's just the way we abbreviate it at EOS. So this is the Vision Traction Organizer, and this is the first page. This is a 2-page document, front and back. The first page, we're going to focus on the vision of your business. We're going to answer these 4 questions over these 5 on the front, and I'll go through those one at a time in just a bit. On the second side, when we flip it over, this is where the magic happens and the work comes. This is where we're going to get traction in your business. So we're going to work on a 1-year plan, rocks, and an issues list. So let's go to the first column or first question that we have to answer within your business. And you might have done this, but we still take you down the road, an exercise to make sure that it is truly what it explains your core and your culture of your company. So core values, these are a set of 5 essential guiding characteristics that you can apply to your business that help you define who you are at the core and what you want from the culture of your business. So truly who you are is what the core values are. The second question we're going to answer is, what is your core focus? And the core focus is basically your sweet spot. All right, we're all in the beer business, right? So we're probably in selling beer, but the core focus will help us really define who it is that you want to relay your message to, why you do what you do. A lot of times people have heard this as maybe their vision statement or the hedgehog concept or the core or become your vision statement. But, and I'm sorry to throw another term at you, core focus, but it truly does come from the core. So once we've identified what it is that you do at the core and do best, the tricky part is to get you to stay focused on it and not get distracted by any shiny objects or squirrels and things like that. So that's the trick about core focus, and we work really well. We have some great tools and practices to help us identify what that is. Then what we try to do, or what we'll do, is we're going to focus on a 10-year target. Now, this can be shorter, like 5-year target or a 30-year target, depending on what your objective is in your business. But why we do this is we show the company and the people within the business, plus yourself, where it is that you're trying to go. So we just set up a quick little target, 5, 10, 30 years, you name the number, but we're going to list that so everybody knows that when they come to work, what they're working towards. Once we've identified the 10-year market or the 10-year strategy, then our goal is to identify a marketing strategy, and that's made up of a couple of things here. Your target market, the list. Who is it that you're going to have those salespeople in that marketing department working on and focusing their efforts on? Then we help you establish 3 uniques. Every one of you has great beer, right? So there's your first unique. A lot of you might have 2 of the 3 uniques the same, but the key here is to get all 3, get those 3 uniques unique to just you. So other breweries might have 2 of them, but you're the only one that has these 3 uniques. We have some tools and exercises for that. Then we want to help you identify your proven process. How do you go from getting a customer to making sure that they're a satisfied customer? And we document that in a really nice, easy 1-page illustration, and we can help you with that. And then most companies should provide a guarantee or a pledge, something that just says that takes out the objection of doing business with you. So we'll help with that. And so once we get that left side of this form dialed in, the core values, we know who we are. Core focus, we know what we love to do. 10-year target, we know where we're going. And marketing strategy, we know how we're going to get there. Then what we're going to do is shift over to the right side of this document and start looking at what it looks like in 3 short years from now. And we call it a 3-year picture because we really want to paint a nice picture so you can see this in your mind's eye. It's clear, crystal clear to what the business is going to look like in 3 short years from now. So we make some quick predictions like the future date, throw some revenue on there and what your profit looks like. And then what are the measurables? In beer, there's all sorts of different measurables you can try to help define success. Barrelage, case equivalents, you name it, pints sold in the tap room, that type of thing. And then what we want you to do is say, hey, what does it look like? The tap room's expanded. We added more fermenters. The office is bigger. We have 15 sales. Whatever it looks like, we want to bullet that out so that everybody can see it in their mind's eye, because once they do, the chances of achieving your vision are much, much greater. So that's the vision side of the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer. So now we've organized our vision, we turn it around, and this is where the real math or the real traction and the magic happens, because this is where we have to do the hard work. So this is the second side of the document, the traction side. If you see, we have a 1-year plan on the left side there. We're going to do the same type of exercises or make the same predictions as we do. Future date, the revenue goals and the profit goals for the brewery. And what are the measurables again? How many CEs, how many barrels does that look like? Whatever works for you, whatever your measurables are. And then what we're going to do is we're going to define 5 to 7 goals for the year. These are the most important things that have to get done in 1 year's time. And we only concentrate on like 5 to 7 because when everything's important, nothing's important. So we need to really focus on the most important things for the business in that next calendar year to be successful, to meet the plan and get us on track for that 3-year picture I showed you on the other side. So after we've identified that, we help establish rocks. What are rocks? Rocks are 90-day priorities for your business. EOS breaks everything down into 13 weeks or quarters. And what we like to do is have you focus on company rocks and individual rocks. So what we do is we quickly have you make those same predictions I talked to you about that will be in 3 short months from now. And then we indicate the 5 to 7 most important things for the business in that quarter, in the company in that quarter. And then we assign those out to whoever is responsible for pushing that over the finish line. So those are rocks. That gets us living in a 90-day window. And I'll show you a little bit more about those in a second. But then as soon as we get some company rocks, we establish some individual departmental rocks as well. And that's how we focus on getting things done. And then we'll help you understand how to solve your issues with an issues list. There's something therapeutic about getting all the issues out of your head and getting them onto a wall or on a piece of paper so that at least they can be purged over there and you can work on the next things. So we help you create an issues list where the most important things are the things that are stopping you from achieving success. And those are your issues, and we'll help you identify those. So that was the vision. That's the VTO. Those 8 questions. The next thing that we do with our clients is they have to go share that by all. Share by all. That's the second discipline. And what that means is you got to take that. Once you've identified your VTO, we got to go out to the company and we got to tell them about it. They have to understand where we're going and how we're going to get there. That's what's shared by all. Because once again, when everybody can see where they're going and how they're going to get there, the chances of achieving that are much, much greater. So shared by all is the second discipline. And that's what 100% strong looks like in the vision component. So that's the biggest part of this that I wanted you folks to see. But I am going to go through these other components. And I know I talk a little fast. It's like having Audible on ×2 speed. I get it. I apologize. I'll try to slow down. But I want to be conscious of your time as well. So the second key component that we have to get strong in is the people component. If you remember, I said you can't achieve a great vision without great people. So the people component, what we do is the 2 tools that we use is we make sure we have the right people in the right seats. You might have heard that before. So what does that mean? Right people are the people that have the God-given talents to do their job, and that they are actually they actually fit your culture like a glove. Actually, they define who you are. They love going to your workplace, and you feel comfortable that they exhibit every core value of your business. So one exercise that we have for that, really simple, I'm going to really simplify it even more for this call though, is we do a people analyzer tool. So what does that mean? What we want to do is we want to analyze everybody in the company on if they exhibit your core values. So if you remember, the first part of our VTO was the 5 core values. In EOS, these are our core values. Be humbly confident, grow or die, help first, do the right thing, and do what you say. So if you have any questions on those, I can answer those afterwards. But ultimately, the tool is to write down everybody's names and make sure they exhibit those core values that you have. If they don't, we have something to chat about. The next component is the right seats. So that's actually the seat that the people have the experience and they can actually do the job. So it's nice to have right people fit your culture, but if they can't do the job, we have an issue, right? So if you're a for-profit business, we have to make sure they can do the job. So how do we identify the job? Well, in EOS, we work on structure first, people second. So we're going to set up what the business needs to look like on a structure basis, and then we'll plug in some names. But we don't plan jobs around people in EOS because the company is number one and it needs its support. So foundational beliefs in EOS, every company is structured like this, no matter who you are. Some are a little bit more unique, but they'll still maintain the same structure. Every company is going to have a marketing and sales department. You got to market it, tell people about it. You got to go out and take some orders. Once you do, we need to have somebody either make the product that you just sold or provide a service. In our situation, it's beer. Typical of operations is maybe a brewer. So that makes sense, right? And then every company has a third function called the finance function, and that's how we manage our assets. We pay our bills, the accounts receivable, the accounts payable, the bookkeeping, etc. Most of the time in small businesses, you, the entrepreneur, wear all three of these hats, including the fourth key function, which is the integrator. Now the integrator, we call them the integrator, and what they are responsible for is making sure that those three roles below them play well together. They are the ones that handle the day-to-day, the grind of the operation, and make sure that every one of those people is being accountable for what they said they were going to do. So that's the integrator, the boss, as we like to call it. Sometimes what's going to happen is you might have, we'll define this to be unique for your company. You might have a key function in your business just for marketing. You might have a key function just for sales. But a lot of times that happens. Sometimes you might have 2 or 3 different ops functions, like a head brewer is one op, a head packager would be another ops department. We need to spill this out and define it for your unique organization, and we'll build that in our spend together. About 50% of the time, about 50% of the other times, let me retract real quick, got ahead of myself. So once we've identified the key functions in your business, then we have to define the 5 key roles for each one of those functions. So marketing and sales would be sales, demos, product tastings, those types of things. Identify the key roles, the major responsibilities that they have, and then we identify, we'll put a name in there later in just a second. So once we've identified the key roles for the leadership team, as we have there in this chart, we have this 4th position called the integrator. Once we've identified that, we'll set some roles there. And about 50% of the time that I work with companies, they have this 5th key component, and it's called the visionary. And if you haven't heard of this, you might identify with this. So the visionary is the person that's at about 20,000 feet, always looking down, has about 30 ideas a day, maybe one's good. They like to deal with the big relationships, the big customer relationships typically. They're not really good with the day-to-day minutia of the business because they just don't have the attention span to stay engaged that long. They don't like dealing with those hard, conversations with other employees and things like that. That's the work of the integrator. So if you have a visionary in your business, we need to call that out. Most of the time we're finding that the visionary is stuck in that integrator role, and that doesn't work. Because visionaries, and I know that you might be the visionary and you're a startup business, but we need to eventually get that integrator role in there if you are a visionary, because visionaries just 90 days of just chaos ensues if a visionary is trying to be an integrator. They just can't stay focused on the prize. So it's not a bad thing at all by any means, but if we do have a visionary in the business, we got to call that out and then truly define the 5 key roles for both that integrator and visionary. When you have a visionary and integrating working well harmoniously, magic happens. It's great, great stuff. So we'll end up figuring out what's accountability chart, we call that. We'll set that up for all you folks and what's unique for your unique organization. So you can see this is just a different how this one breaks out, but we'll do it for your unique organization. And we're going to get to the point that every function in the company is defined, what the role is, and then we have some exercises to bring it back into to make sure that the people you have working in that function right now are the right people in the right seats. So that's the accountability chart, a very powerful tool. I know it looks like an org chart, but it's not. It is an accountability chart. It is listing out all the major functions in your business in order for you to be successful. So that's right people, right seats. Got to have them both. Can't have just right people in the wrong seats, because you're a for-profit organization, and we need to make sure that people are doing their jobs and doing them well. If you have somebody who is in the right seat, but they're not the right people, they don't share your core values, we got to get that. We have to nip that in the bud and make sure that that's addressed, because they are causing damage to you more than you know. More than you know is when you have somebody that doesn't exhibit your core values. So a change will need to be made, or we'll have to elevate that person so that they do represent the core values of your business. But having the right people in the right seats, using those 2 disciplines that I just showed you, will help you get closer to 100% strong in the people component of your business. The data component of your business, again, operating the business on facts and figures, boiling it down so that you have really good data to make better decisions for your business. We use a tool called the Scorecard to get you stronger in the data component. And what that looks like is something like this. Just a quick little grid like this. We identify, first of all, the measurables that we want to watch on a weekly basis. The revenue, the cash balance, maybe how many sales calls or demos you visited that week, how many barrels were made, how many got dumped down the drain, hopefully none. But at any rate, the point is we set up a scorecard that helps you. And if you are the entrepreneur in your company, visualize a scorecard being something that you could literally go down to you could go on a brewcation and not even be at your job, but you could look at this scorecard to make sure that you have a pulse on the business, on which way it's tracking. That's what the scorecard's intended to do. So what we do is we quickly once we've set up the measurable that we want to watch, and scorecards take a while to build out to be perfect, but that's fine. We just help you with that. But once you've identified the weekly goal that you want to achieve for that, as you saw, then we keep track of it on a 90-day basis or 13-week window so that we can see the trends in that quarter of the business. As you can see here, lots of data. If you were on the beach, hopefully you could see if your business was performing at this point. So that's the scorecard. It's a great, great tool that we monitor and look at every week to make sure the business is tracking. Once we've identified the scorecard measurables and get them dialed in, we just make sure that everybody in the company has one of those measurables, that they're accountable for one thing in the business. And that's what a measurable is. They have to be accountable for at least one part of a scorecard in the company. And we use that because if we have measurables in place for employees, what gets measured gets done. That's proven. And so that's why we have measurables associated with every employee, 1, 2, 3, maybe 5, depending on what their role is in the company. But again, remember that what gets measured gets done. So that's what it looks like to be 100% strong, getting closer to 100% strong in the data component. So remember, like I said, once we get strong on those first 3 components, all these impurities and imperfections become painfully obvious and all the issues fall out of your business. So we got to get really, really good at solving issues. And what we do there is, again, simple. And that's the neat thing about EOS, just for the record. Less is more. Simplify, simplify, simplify. So issues, again, this seems pretty common sense to me, but check this out. So we have an issues list that we have to create. We try to get every issue out of your head. You need to get them out of your head and get them on paper so they don't just sit there all cobbled up in your head. And the way we do that is we just write them on a board and we keep track of them. And then the discipline that we use to solve those issues is IDS. Identify, discuss, solve. I don't want to ruin the surprise, so let me show you how that works. We also call it the issue solving track. This is how it works. And you might identify with some of this. Identify. Let's truly find out what that issue is by drilling down, discussing quite a bit so that we know that what is the root cause, because a lot of times the issue you're bringing to the table isn't the true issue. We have to identify what the root cause is of that issue. So really true, good job of identifying what it is, get it on the board. Sometimes 2 issues come out of 1. Once we've then identified the issue that we are going to focus on, we discuss it. Real and easy discussion. That makes a lot of sense. But what happens is a lot of people discuss in excess, right? So we'll get to that in a second. Once we've gotten through that discussion and everybody's proven their point or gotten their point across, then we have to move to solve that. Seems pretty simple. But even the greatest leadership teams have problems with this and struggle with this. Easy to identify with, not easy, but they can identify the issue. But a lot of times, this is where all the time is spent. A lot of politicking, a lot of conversation. Sometimes it gets heated, these types of things. But if you're repeating yourself, you're politicking. We've heard you once. We got to stop that. But ultimately, we got to discuss, get all the facts out there so that we can move to solve. So how do we decide what are the priorities that we have to solve in a meeting? Literally just go through with the team in the meeting and say, hey, what's the most important issues out there? You guys define what they are. We list 1, 2, 3. Then we go back and we identify what the issue is. We discuss it, and then we move to solve. Once that's happened, we move on to number 2. Rinse, lather, repeat. It's the same thing. This is where magic happens in your organization. As you solve issues, you are gaining traction. So that's our issue solving track. That's what IDSing looks like. That's how we get 100% strong and knocking down those issues and making sure that they're gone forever. The issues track, IDS. Fifth key component is the process component. What does that mean? Process component is just getting really good at documenting all your core processes. And every company only has a handful of core processes. So for an example, you might have an HR process, how you go out and attract people, how you bring them into the company, what the hiring, the load on process is for them, and what maybe an exit process is. But an HR will have a handful of processes. Marketing does, sales, ops, the brewers have their ops, their processes as well. What EOS asks of you, though, is we're not going to make a 700-page document here. We want to do this on a very entrepreneurial, high-level documentation process. Again, less is more, simplify. So what we do is a very entrepreneurial method, is where we do the 20-80 rule. You might have heard 80-20. We do it the 20-80. Define 20% of the key components of that process that need to be defined that'll get your employees 80% of the way there. So do a very high level 20-80 process documentation. That way we have one-page processes. We don't have a 700-page manual that's out there. Once we've identified the process, it gets documented on a 20-80 process or high level. Then what we need to do is make sure that everybody is following that process. And how do we do that? Is we certainly just have to make sure that these people are properly trained. They know the right way to do the process. They're getting measured on the process, and of course managed. So the key thing about documenting your processes is just to do the projects or the jobs or tasks the right way every single time. It creates scalability, profitability, and it just makes business more fun, that you don't have to deal with issues that don't follow processes. So that's a real quick overview on the process component and how we get you strong there. The 6th key component, again, is the traction component. That's just bringing that vision down and executing on it day in and day out. Again, remember, vision without traction is hallucination. And the tools we use are rocks, which I just talked about a little bit before. Those are the 90-day priorities for the business. We have company rocks and individual rocks, and that just helps us instill some discipline on a quarterly basis. And then we also have a meeting pulse that we want you to follow to help you keep traction in the business. And this isn't to be another meeting for you. This is to help you have less meetings. And here's how our meetings work. We call them a level 10 meeting because it is, if you can't rate your meeting a 10 out of a 10, why have 5 people in a line in the room right there? Do your hourly rate right there if you have 4 managers in there and it's just not a productive meeting. So EOS's level 10 meeting goes like this. We start for 5 minutes just talking about some good news in the business and personal, just a good segue into the meeting. Then we just jump into that scorecard I showed you. We throw that scorecard up on the screen. Everybody has a copy, you name it, however you do it. But we should take a look at it to see if there's any issues that can be extracted from that. Are we trending one way or another? Not any dissertation on this. This is the deal. If you notice, these top 5 things are only 5 minutes. They're review only. There's no discussion. If there's an issue that comes up on that scorecard or a trend, we're going to just move that down to our issues list, as you can see towards the bottom of this sheet. So we review the scorecard quickly, note any issues. We talk about those rocks that we identified, I told you about earlier. And in that, we just make sure, is your rock on track or off track to be done in the time frame that we've had it set? We repeat on track, off track. If there's any issues, we just knock them down to that issues list. So you can see then we have some customer and employee headlines, spend a couple minutes on that so we can get some cascading messages out there to everybody. And then we move to a to-do list. And the to-do list just instills weekly accountability. Because what happens is during this meeting, you are going to create a list of to-dos that need to get done. We want to track those and make sure that 90% of those are getting done on a weekly basis. So once we say, yes, I got it done, or I didn't get it done, if you didn't get it done, it's an issue. We'll talk about it later. So then if you notice towards the bottom of this sheet, 60 minutes is just going to go towards solving your issues. And again, like I said before, that is gaining traction in your business. That is moving the business forward. So that's where we want to spend most of our time, is solving issues, using that issue solving track I showed you. And then we conclude that meeting after we have about 5 minutes left in the meeting and rate the meeting. So that's just the level 10 meeting, and that helps you get 100% strong in the traction component of your business. So hopefully that makes sense. That, my friends, is the EOS model. That model works for just about any type of business, and I know it works really well in breweries. I've used it in breweries, and I know that breweries are some of the most complex businesses out there. So I like trying to simplify it, and that's why I believe so many breweries are using this system. So the process on how it works, this is what happens. So anybody can go to any store right now, and you can go buy the book Traction. And I suggest you do thumb through it and and you can certainly implement that yourselves if you would like to. And I have clients that have done that, and I know clients that or other folks that are still doing it that way. So you don't have to use an implementer like me. I am just a tool or a coach for you. I'm actually a facilitator, a coach, and a teacher. So I'm going to teach you how to do EOS properly, and then I help facilitate conversations, and then I help train you folks as well, and coach you and make sure that you understand, like any other good coach, that you're pretty good as you are, and you probably could be better. You just need a little shove there to help you out. So I'm a coach as well. But here's how the process works. If you're truly interested and you want to learn more about this, there's no obligation. I'll do this for anybody. But if you'd like me to do a little bit more in detail session like this with your management team, I'm happy to do it virtually or in person, depending on where you're located. I'm in Minnesota, and we do a 90-minute meeting to do exactly what I just did now in about 42 minutes. If you like it and you want to learn more, the process is to work with an implementer. Is we have a focus day, a full day session that we answer the topics below. We talk about hitting the ceiling, because every company does hit a ceiling. We have to break through it. We work on that accountability chart I showed you. We establish rocks, and I train you on the meeting pulse and the scorecard. 30 days into the business, you go teach all that. You work on that. We get back together, and then we'll have a meeting to start answering those 8 questions that I taught you earlier in this. Then we get back together 30 days later, make sure we've answered all those questions, do some continuing training on EOS. And then once you're done with those 3 days, they're 30 days apart, then you go into execution mode. And as you can see there on the right, there's like the little boxes that say quarter. And every quarter, you're going to have a quarterly meeting. You're going to update that VTO I showed you. And a lot of businesses will have an implementer like myself to run those meetings for them. On average, companies that do use an implementer for about 2 years. We don't have any agreements, or the only agreement we have is that everything's 100% guaranteed. Your time is, if you don't find value in our meetings, you don't pay me. But truly, it is something that if you just graduate when you feel comfortable and you know the process and you feel like you don't need an implementer anymore. So there's no contracts with working with an implementer. Our goal is to graduate you so that you run on EOS yourself. So here's a little tool for you if you want to do a little organizational checkup, organizationalcheckup.com. It takes you right to the EOS worldwide site. Go answer about 25 questions, have your leadership team do the same, print the results, and see if you folks are all on the same page. If you want me to dissect that with you free of charge, I'd be happy to do that. Organizationalcheckup.com. That is my spiel. I think I hit about 45, so we can do a little Q&A. Again, TractionCraft is my own personal little business, my practice. That's what I've called it. I am a professional EOS implementer. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, craft beer professionals, for doing what you do. This is why I love this community. It's cooperative competition, cooperation. It's the greatest business in the world, and I'm so happy to be a part of it, and I hope I can help you by implementing EOS into your business. So that's my show. Oh, I got one more thing to do. There you go. If you want my information, it's right there on the last slide. Otherwise, I will also go look at the chat here, and I got a couple comments, it looks like. But that's where we're at, folks. So I'm open for questions. And I will hit the stop share here in a second. Or did I already? I think I did. So any questions? Awesome. So I know that this is rebroadcast. It's going to be out there forever and ever and ever. It's on the internet. So please take my information, watch it again, share it with your friends. I'd love to help. If there's anything that you're struggling with in your business and you want to know if EOS can help, EOS, if you remember, one of my core values is helping you first. That's the primary job that I have, is to help my fellow entrepreneurs. And of course, I have a love for breweries, so I'm really happy to help those folks out, especially I know the business is complex and we just came off one hell of a year. So anything I can do to help you folks out with EOS or any beer, I love talking beer. So just feel free to give me a call at the number listed there. So I am going to leave it at that. If there's any other questions. I know Andrew was with us, and I know he has he's taking a clarity break, and he was texting me from a brewery out in Vermont, and I know they had kind of shoddy internets at that place, so maybe he won't be able to join us again. And I'll check my phone to make sure. Nope, I don't see it. So, all right, well, if no questions, please feel free to listen again and again. Share this video with your friends, family, other brewery owners. I am here to help you. I'd be happy to answer any questions. So thanks so much. And until next time, I'll chat with you soon.